Welcome to another edition of CTRMRadio, an ad hoc podcast by Commodity Technology Advisory. Hosted on ctrmcenter.com and ettcenter.net, your place for everything related to CTRM and commodity management software, as well as the energy transition. My name is Kevin Mossop, an affiliate advisor with ComTech Advisory. On today's podcast, I'll be speaking with Mr. Samir Soleja, the founder, president, and CEO of Molecule. Our discussion topics will include Molecule's focus on the North American and European power markets, along with insight into Molecule's product roadmap. I'd like to welcome Mr. Samir Soleja, who's the founder and president and CEO of Molecule. Thanks for taking time to speak with me today, Samir.
Always a pleasure, Kevin.
So we talked this time last year and covered numerous topics. I remember that power and renewables were a key focus for Molecule. In today's podcast, we'll be discussing some of the progress and accomplishments Molecule has made with their continued focus on power and renewables, as well as Molecule's future initiatives in these areas. I'd like to start with Electra, which is Molecule's module for managing physical and financial power. Can you explain some of the key capabilities Molecule has enhanced within Electra and how Electra is being utilized by customers in the North American and European power markets?
Yeah, totally. So a lot of what we focused on with regards to Electra in the last year has been acknowledging the extremely high volume trading that we see our customers doing. We serve a number of IPPs and REPs in North America, well, in the Americas and in Europe. And it seems that more and more long-term high-resolution instruments are what we're seeing people trade. For example, PPAs and FTRs. So, an FTR could be traded for a few months or a year, and it settles hourly. And usually people receive thousands of them at a time. And so what we found is that we were one of the few vendors actually willing to ingest that data and process it per hour as the deal life cycle went on. But that required some upgrades internally to be able to do that at scale for a lot of customers. So a lot of what we did was that, and a lot of what we did was around automated configuration for management of new paths and things like that, so that we're able to ingest at scale and at high quality. One of the asks that we've had from a lot of customers is to be able to mark FTRs against a curve that uses a methodology that the customer wants. And we spent the year sort of triangulating what the mainstream market ask was for that. And this summer, we plan to release a curve build for FTRs so that we have an industry standard approach to help mark FTRs to market.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely those long-term agreements, either hourly or 15-minute granularity, pose some significant system challenges. Customers are not trading a dozen of those, like you say, they're trading hundreds or thousands of those, right? And a 15-minute granularity, it's a massive amount of data.
Yes, absolutely is.
Managing renewable certificates is complex, not only because of the variety of products, but the ongoing changes in those rules and regulations, as well as the lack of standardization across those markets. Molecule has developed a module called Hive for managing life cycle of renewable certificates and obligations that include support for both European and North American markets. Can you describe some of the key features of Hive and how you've managed to solve some of the complexities of managing the variation in those products across the markets?
Yeah, sure. So what we found is that most of our customers are on sort of a bridge between our Electra and Hive feature sets. Like they need both. A lot of the folks who are trading certificates, especially in power, are trading RECs or GEOs or something similar, and often alongside term PPAs. And so Hive and Electra have combined to allow customers to be able to manage those more easily. So things like as generated PPAs, as opposed to simply fixed volume PPAs, where a customer might have sold shape or 80% of the output of a facility, or even 80% of the output of one turbine on a facility to somebody. And then forecast what 80% of the output means, and then update that daily every day for ever. Another bit is where they might be selling power and certificates on a PPA where the power itself, or where the PPA itself is multiple decades long, but settles hourly for 30, 40 years. That sort of thing creates an enormous amount of data in the native molecule structure. I think we had estimated one trade would take 500 million rows. And so we had to definitely build some optimizations around that to make that faster and easier to process. The other big thing is that we rolled out what we think is an industry first feature on connecting certificates to obligations, both in draft mode and in final mode, where basically we are able to model a company's obligations, whether they come from trades or from a native position of some sort that we call an asset. And then we can connect to registries and download the certificates that they have as well, or the positions essentially that they've had transferred to them, and then run an optimizer with a customized algorithm to allocate those certificates to their obligations in the way that makes most sense as a company. What we found is that a lot of people are delivering certificates just as sort of a matter of course, as a matter of business, but the best are optimizing which certificates to deliver against which obligations, either to maximize market price or get rid of expiring certificates first or something like that. And this algo allows them to do that at scale.
That's interesting. That's definitely a complex piece, and the rules change over time.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like get it right once. Those rules are constantly changing. Where those certificates apply changes as they age, etc. And it changes market to market, state by state, country by country. So
It really does. It's a fascinating market.
hard to keep up.
Yes.
For the North American market, I know you've added trading support for financial hedging of congestion costs with the ISOs and RTOs with products such as FDRs and TCRs, as you mentioned. The intricacies of those financial hedging instruments vary from market to market. How did you design a comprehensive solution to accommodate all those variations and how those instruments are traded across the various North American markets?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the places where Molecule really shines because of an early engineering decision we made. So in Molecule, unlike most other systems, there is one primary master data object called a product that has all the attributes of trades that would be booked against it. Like basically the trade only needs to add counterparty, quantity, and price. And so the product model is really flexible, and we found it was very easy to extend it to model congestion trading, to model virtuals, to model things at any location, anywhere, just by virtue of its design. And then when we make a change, we make it generically applicable to the whole product model, such that we can, for example, take something we might have built for spot certificates, or I think it was actually spot crypto, and then use it for certificate delivery and enhance it from there. So yeah, the great result out of that is that when we make a change, everybody gets the benefit.
No, it sounds like a solid approach. The complexity is sort of never ending with some of the instruments in some of these markets.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Given Molecule's focus on power in Europe and North America, I'm interested to understand from your perspective where you see similarities, but also differences in the requirements from some of the European and North American power customers, and how you've designed the Molecule software to accommodate those regional differences, which are often surprisingly significant.
They really are. Um, Fortunately, just by virtue of where we live, we started with the harder part first. Like from what we can tell, in general, American power is like multiple times as hard in terms of intricacy as European power. You got to deal with the multiple ISOs, you got to deal with their rules, a bunch of different time zones, all these different sorts of instruments. And Not to mention where you might have 30 RTOs with 30 trading locations in Europe. You've got 14,000 in Texas alone. Um, so we started with something harder, and we're finding that going to something more regulated and structured is actually an easier approach for us. That said, there are differences in how cross-border trading works, and probably most significantly, differences in how companies are needing to deal with multiple currencies, which just isn't a thing.
Yeah, the lack of standardization, certainly across the North American power markets, has always surprised me. But I think I agree
Mhm.
with you. From the European side, it's a little more standardized, but you still do have some regional differences, country to country.
Mhm.
In addition to your dedicated focus to the power markets, I know you've been investing in the application's user interface. Can you elaborate on some of the improvements and capabilities that you've added to the Molecule user interface?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've always felt that our UI and UX was one of our strongest points in our application. I mean, that's what we were founded on. And well, we realized a couple of years ago that it had gotten complex enough under the hood that it was time for a rewrite. And so we did. We started a rewrite about a year and a half to 2 years ago, and we are almost done. We've been rolling it out gradually, screen by screen to our existing customers so that they can use sort of both sides of the app, what we call the Mirage side, which is the new one, and the self-effacing Vapor side, which is the old one. And some of the really cool things that Mirage is giving our customers are things like multi-language support, where we can quickly add support for a new language. Today, we support English and Spanish, and I think maybe German, and are able to roll out new languages very quickly. Multi-date format support, multi-number format support, light and dark mode, easy mobile access, and most importantly, a faster built and um, consistent user interface across the entire application with things like filtering and sorting and tables and things like that that work exactly the same everywhere you see them. So really, it's just a way to allow the product to scale in a way that helps customers around the world use the software in an easier way. Most of it's out already, and the last piece it should be out at the end of the third quarter.
No, it sounds like some some important features. I mean, we're seeing things change at an increasing pace these days, and users are starting to expect that level of flexibility in the tools they work with. So it sounds like a sound investment you guys have made there.
We'll be glad to be done with it.
You're never done, Samir. You
No.
got some new ideas will come out there. So I'd like to switch to AI for a minute. There's a lot of interest and attention focused on how to utilize AI to enhance solutions in the ETRM, CTRM space. Can you describe how Molecule is leveraging AI and how your customers will benefit from some of the product features that you'll utilize AI in the future?
Yeah, sure. And a lot of this is based on the sort of same incremental engineering approach that I described before. So our really, really strong API, which is basically 100% coverage of the whole app, had to exist so that our new UI would live on top of it. But it also serves the purpose of providing, sort of infinite querying capabilities and data integration capabilities to our customers. Well, our first AI offering, Mo, was a chatbot that allows non-technical users to use our API for really, really complex queries. And Mo speaks multiple languages, at least three, I think, at this point. So that's really exciting. You can ask Mo, like, give me my last 1,000 trades with this particular counterparty this year. He'll give you the API query and the answer, within seconds. So that's really great. Uh, from there, though, we're definitely exploring agentic offerings, and I just saw one of our very early next generation prototypes of LLM integration, and we have some really cool things cooking that I can't wait to show you.
No, it sounds exciting. Sounds like you're making good progress on that front. With Molecule's ongoing focus on the power and renewables markets, when you look ahead, what do you see as the upcoming customer needs, and what objectives have you set for the Molecule team for the North American and European power markets specifically?
Yeah, so a couple of big things. Deeper integration with the ability to schedule power in both markets. As you know, we have a partnership with Power Optics here in the US, and we're looking to have a similar partnership in Europe if we can find the right fit. We also are, I think a lot of what we're focused on is making sure we cover every instrument that somebody might trade, and also making it scalable, easier and easier to for them to onboard a new portfolio. Um, so, in general, our focus is scale and the ability to make things easier for our customers, the ability to take things that they have to do by hand and make them automated, and then, by as a reaction or a reflection of that, also make things easier for ourselves.
Yeah, make it easier for yourself, make it easier for the customer. That's always the challenge, right? It's
That's right.
one or the other or both if you can do it.
Both if you can.
Samir, I'd like to thank you for providing your insights to the European and North American power markets. Molecule has made significant progress in enhancing its offering for these markets, and you've laid out an aggressive roadmap. I look forward to checking in with you in the future and progress updates on your strategic initiatives. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Really glad to be here, and it's always amazing to talk to you, Kit.
All right, thanks, Samir. Take care.
Take care.